Hi guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome along to this little introduction of the build of this kit here. So this is the Hobby 2000 kit number 72066, and it's the consolidated PBY-5A Catalina in the Pacific Theatre of Operations. There's also a Mediterranean one you can get, which is the which on the box cover is the English version, or the British version should I say. So have a look for that kit as well if that's the one you want to get. But I should imagine the plastic is exactly the same, it's just different markings. So looking through the kit and just going through the instructions, as you know I like to plan my builds and sort of look at getting halves of stuff together and everything. And I'm looking through here and there's some sort of funny bits and pieces and some options. First thing here is they're saying the early version bow turret is for version number 2, and version number 2 is the latest, this one here, which is the latest of them all. Well, sorry, the Vietnam one is slightly later, but wartime. This one actually has the later turret. So I think they've got this wrong, so I think that should say number 1 and this should say 2 and 3 over here. So if you want to build in the kit, be aware of that. You can see here I've actually put the number 3 away. That's the Vietnam one, 1945. I've actually put it away in the bottom of the box, but you'll see that on the images that they've both got this later turret on here, whereas the early version, obviously 42, is earlier than 44 and 45, so that's the early version. I also have some reference, this book here, PBY-5A Catalina Walk Around, and it's quite a nice little book. Lots of pictures of restored aircraft, which is a bit of a shame. You have to be very careful of looking at restored aircraft because they often have wrongly coloured parts. They have modern stuff fitted, like modern antennas and all that. They could even have different engines. It's just crazy. So you have to be a little bit careful. But there's your early turret there, early nose turret. You can see without the gun fitted. So that's what we're going to go for. A lot of the pictures in here in this book are from this aircraft here, which is actually, it's a PBY display at the National Museum of Naval Aviation in Pensacola, Florida. And it comprises the fuselage of PBY-5B, originally earmarked for the Royal Air Force, and it was damaged in an accident and the wing was removed and sections cut from the port side of the fuselage to turn it into a cutaway. So I can only assume, when you look through here and you see the cutaway images of the inside, wherever they may be, where are they? They must be further back. Yeah, here we go. So you've got all these cutaway images inside. I can only assume these colours are all correct because it's a wartime aircraft that was made as a training piece during the war. So we can only assume that all of this is correct. If it's been stored in the dry and in a hangar or whatever and not had any sunlight on it and not had any rain going at it, there's no reason anything would have corroded or anything. So this should all be pretty much accurate. Now for this semi-second scale kit, obviously a lot of this, other than colour, is of no use, but when it comes to the big HPH one, all this is going to be awesome. So you can see there the front and the early and the late turrets. So that's the first thing I come across. Then the second thing I come across is you come over here and they're asking you to put the wings together. And the first thing they're saying is open up some holes. Well, these holes on the outside here are for bombs, and these holes on the inside are for these fuel dump tubes. Now, fuel dump tubes don't seem to have any particular date. They do go into it a bit in here. Here we go. The pipe is a fuel jettison tube. They don't seem to go into anything, but it would appear that this is a later aircraft. And it's got those. They're also showing on the box front, here's a later aircraft and it doesn't have them, but here's the early aircraft and it does. So you can see that one there, that's the Vietnam one, that has them, and this one here has them as well. Now I'm looking online and all the pictures I'm seeing, I mean they're artist images. This aircraft here, 44P4, which was the plane that actually first saw the Japanese fleet approaching Midway. From what I'm seeing, this plane shouldn't have them, so I'm not going to fit them unless you tell me different. So comments below, please. When it comes to the bombs, it would appear that they didn't carry bombs when they were out on their scouting missions, obviously because of the weight. They obviously had to get all the weight out of the plane they could to make it go as far as it could and stay up longer. So as far as I'm aware, they didn't actually carry bombs on their scouting missions because they weren't sort of in attack mode. So let me know if you know different. The other thing I'm thinking is when the aircraft is on the ground, the floats would be in the raised position. I don't see why they would have the floats down when the aircraft's landing on its undercarriage. I don't, just logic tells me that that wouldn't happen. So I'm also looking at that. I'm also wondering if this aircraft would have recently lost its red meatball from its stars, okay, and its red striped tail. Would it still have the yellow and red propeller blade tips? That's something I'd like to know, please, if you can tell me. And then going along here, we've got early and late. So I'm thinking this is correct, and we're not going to be putting any of this on. We just got these exhausts here going on without all that gubbins there. The other thing to be aware of, the wheels, I've seen a few builds of this and people have painted the wheels silver. The wheels are blue, as are the undercarriage bays. When you look in here, you will see pictures, like on the front there, you've got the undercarriage bay in interior green. There are images in here, you can see there the wheels are painted silver. You also got pictures in here where you've got, there we are, white undercarriage bays and legs, which is not correct for the period. So as with pretty much all US aircraft of a naval fashion, the undercarriage bays were the same colour as the underside of the aircraft, or where they are. So these are on the side, so the interior there will be blue, the nose gear will be grey. As with your Hellcats, they're all dark blue underneath on the later ones. So there we are. So that's the few questions I wanted to ask. I'm assuming early exhausts, no fuel dischargers, no bombs. Have we got yellow and red propeller blade tips? We have got the early turret, I'm absolutely sure of it. And that's that as far as the questions go. The other thing I've been looking at, they tell you in the instructions the first thing to do is fit all the undercarriage gear into the undercarriage bays. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to fit the undercarriage bays into the fuselage and then put all that in afterwards, because it just seems daft having all this sticking out when you're working on seams and handling the aircraft. It's going to get broken. So I'm going to be fitting that afterwards. I've had a look at the parts and you can see here everything's on one sprue, which is nice. We have the undercarriage bays here, which are going to be going over those holes there. And we have these arms here have to go through, and if we measure them, the wider ones here, they are approximately 12 millimeters at their widest point. And you can see here the opening for the wheel well is like 17 millimeters, and then we've got the big slot coming at the top here for this, because we've got those holes going in there. So we've got two arms in the bottom, one arm in the top. I think it's all going to be absolutely fine. So I think we'll do that, and we can paint it all, get all the seams all sorted, and then put our undercarriage in afterwards. And everything is going to be painted blue anyway. So, I mean, we may decide to put the undercarriage in before final painting, but it would seem daft. So there we are. The other thing is the cockpit. I may just put some bits of masking tape on the seats to look like some belts or something, but you're not going to see much through there anyway, because when you look at the actual canopy, there's a hell of a lot of it is painted. The frames are quite thick, so you're not really going to see much in there anyway. So something that represents some different colours going on will be absolutely fine. So there we are. That's just a quick introduction to the build. I am going to be doing this version here, as you all know. So if any of you know the answers to my questions, if you could answer them in the comments below, I would be most grateful. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there, particularly Frankie Day probably, that knows a lot about this. And also the interior. Would it be interior green, or would it be like the chromate green? which a lot of people say is the same, but I think the actual chromate green is slightly lighter, as I discussed before. But there we go. So thank you for watching. I hope you can answer my questions so that I can sleep at night, shall we say. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.